Hi, this is Stephen from Mona Disso. Today I'm reviewing the 2022 Razer Blade 17, which I bought myself. Now most models like mine have the 12th gen i7-12800H CPU, unless you buy the top of the line, the 4K one with the 3080 Ti and the 12900H that costs an eye-watering $4,300. The 3060 model starts at $2,700, which is an awful lot to be fair, and the 3070 Ti models like mine for $3,200. You can opt for either a 360Hz 1080p or 240Hz QHD display. The 3080 Ti models come with 32GB of DDR5 4800MHz RAM. The rest have 16GB, all in dual channel. I'm going to start off by telling you what I liked about it and then what I did not like. Okay, so first off, this panel is really nice. My QHD panel is nice and bright at 330 nits and has very good contrast, and its colour gamut is also very good. 100% of sRGB and 91% of the DCI P3 colour space. Now some may find it a little bit oversaturated, and a buddy of mine has the 1080p panel and it's more like 72% of a DCI P3. Also, there was little to no backlight bleed. I certainly think it is a great panel for content creation, and also I found it good for gaming. The ghostly performance was good, but my buddy thought that the 1080p screen had a lower response time than his new GP66. Now my eyes are not that good, so for a casual gamer, this QHD 240Hz panel is good enough. I also liked that it has an IR Windows Hello webcam, which is also 1080p, and it is pretty decent. Webcam looks pretty decent. Also the microphone's pretty good as well, and this is what it's like when you're typing. Now the speakers are also very good. They actually say there's 8 speakers in here, and they are THX certified and are definitely up there with the best that I have heard. They have good bass. Now the speakers still fire upwards via grills either side of the keyboard, but unlike last year where it was more of a mesh, this year each hole has been drilled or lasered through the chassis, which gives it a more of a premium look. Unfortunately, like my Aorus 17, it failed my real-time audio latency test. Last year, the power button was integrated into the right speaker grill. Now, it has been embedded into the keyboard to give it a more seamless look. And although it is 25% smaller than it was last year, it does feel a little bit deeper than the Aorus 17 that had 3mm bezels. Still, for a 17-inch laptop, it is very small. And it's 0.78 inches thick or 19.9mm. It is really a portable package, especially since it weighs just over 6 pounds or 7 pounds 13 ounces with a 280 watt power brick. Now this power brick is nice and small, especially alongside the lower powered 230 watt brick that HP Omen provides. The power cable is braided, which also gives it a premium feel. I have always been a fan of their CNC'd aluminum chassis. It's very clean and it's sharp looking as well as being very rigid. Now some may complain that they didn't change the design all that much, but I'm of the mindset if it ain't broke, why fix it? Now the keys still feel like they have a short distance of travel, but they spring back quickly. And for those that prefer a number pad, unfortunately you're out of luck. As always, the RGB lighting is bright and very customizable. The logo on the lid can be turned off, it can be set to static, or made to pulse off and on, or breathe. I also liked the component temperatures. The RTX 3070 Ti averaging 74 degrees Celsius, and the 12800H only 77 degrees. Now the 3070 Ti has a max dynamic boost of 150 watts, and you will see close to that when gaming at QHD resolution. But dropping to 1080p sees this drop by 15 watts and allocates those watts to the CPU, to maintain a total power of about 170 watts. Now at 1080p, the CPU clock rate is more important, so this does make sense. Consequently, the fan noise is very good. At idle, using the silent profile, they do not spin at all, making it a perfect laptop to use in class. Now even under load, regardless if you use the max fan or the auto fan, we are at 52 decibels with an ambient noise level of 37 decibels. And this system has 3 fans. You have one at the front and 2 either side of the vapor chamber. You are given a 1TB SSD. Now mine had the Samsung P981, which was plenty fast. However, my friend had a different one. The battery is 85 watt hour, and this and other components are protected by tamper evident screws. I also like the ports. You have 3 USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type A's, 2 Thunderbolt 4 ports, one of which supports power delivery 3 of 15 watts, an HDMI, you have a combo audio mic jack, and an SD card reader that accepts the card most of the way in. The power port is at the rear on the left hand side, so it is away from your mouse hand, and the power plug can be plugged in either way round. Now, this was the first laptop I had used with Advanced Optimus, and I must say I was quite impressed. Now, as an enthusiast, I want to play using the dedicated GPU. From a battery perspective, or those wanting to use QuickSync, Optimus works best. Or the best of both worlds is Advanced Optimus, where it switches the GPU automatically, depending on what you set in the 3D settings of NVIDIA's control panel. Now, it does work pretty seamlessly. You hear a ding and a notification on the screen to tell you that it has switched. I did notice that the colour temperature of the display did change too, and the system does see 2 displays, so perhaps each one has its own colour profile. Now, I was concerned that Advanced Optimus would negatively affect the frame rate compared to using dedicated GPU mode. Now, on the contrary, it often even beat dedicated GPU, even if it were just a couple of FPS. Now, I did notice that the integrated GPU was still being used slightly, but much less than what we would see if we were using Optimus. I had mixed results trying to change it whilst in game, so I recommend you just leave it in Advanced Optimus mode. You still have G-Sync and you don't have to reboot, so it's a win for me. The 150W 3070 Ti performed where I thought it would, and I compare it against the Legion 7 with the 140W 3070, a 140W RTX 3080, and the Aorus 17 with a 130W 3070 Ti that was attached to an external monitor, so all systems just used a dedicated GPU. In games like Far Cry 6 that like a fast CPU, you will see some good gains over the last gen, with moderate gains in GPU bound games. Metro Exodus with ray tracing at high didn't see any gains over the 3070, which was replicated in the V-Ray RTX benchmark as shown by the shorter bars. Even in Cyberpunk 2077, ray tracing performance of the Razer Blade 17 was poor, even behind the 130W 3070 Ti. On average, the 140W 3080 was only 1% faster than the Razer's 3070 Ti, which in turn was only 5% faster than the 140W 3070. Since my Legion 7 was about half the price and I get better battery life, it does seem that this Razer is overpriced. Now, hopefully the CPU performance makes up for it. So, what don't I like? Well, the number one thing was the trackpad. Now, it is big enough, it's smooth, and it does track well, but the cursor would often jump to the bottom left of the screen when I clicked it. I thought perhaps it might have been because it was so close to the front edge and my palm might have been touching. I don't think it was, but that may have been a possibility. My friend found that his gestures didn't work well, so perhaps they need to do some work on the drivers or something, but it did drive me a bit crazy. Now, the second is the terrible battery life. Now, you would think with an 85 watt hour battery it would do great, but at 50% brightness or 105 nits, silent and battery saver mode, I only saw 1 hour 50 minutes streaming YouTube. And this was using the Advanced Optimus mode. To keep its clean look, Razer doesn't have air exhaust out the side, but instead vents directly onto the bottom chin of the panel. Now, I didn't experience any problems in my testing, but I did want to mention it. But after many hours of gaming, the area left of the trackpad where you'd rest your palm did get quite warm, and my left hand would get quite clammy. Now, I don't recall this happening before, and I have tested many laptops. Now, other Razer laptops I have used would bring in cool air, over the WASD key area, and that would cool your fingers. But this time, cool air is brought in up high up the keyboard, around about the 2 key. From a performance perspective, the 12800H was a disappointment, and it begs the question, why didn't they just save some money and go with the 12700H? Well, first I will show you the CPU temperatures during a non-gaming workload. Now, the PL1 is set to 65 watts, which in itself is low. Even the Aorus 17's 12700H had a PL1 of 70 watts, but I believe other machines like the GP66 is around about 90 watts. Now it wouldn't be so bad, but the Razer Blade 17 doesn't even hold that 65 watts. It throttles down to an average of 60 watts. Sure, the average temperature of 79 degrees is decent, but in my handbrake test, the 12800H in the Razer was at 82 degrees compared to the Aorus 17's 12700H at 66 degrees, and that was using more watts. Now this is shown by the long bars. The 12700H was 9% faster than the 12800H. Heck, the Razer only matched the 5800H in my Legion 7. We see the same thing in the Blender benchmark. Now at least it did beat the 11800H. In Cinebench R23, I thought the Aorus's 12700H was disappointing with 14,200 points, since I have seen the 12900H in the Asus Scar 15 get 19,000. But the 12,605 I got on my Blade 17 was again the same as my 5800H in my Legion 7. We knew going in that the GPUs were going to be an incremental upgrade. So from a performance standpoint, we were wanting to see gains on the CPU side, and unfortunately we do not get that with this Razer Blade 17. It is a shame because, it is a very nice laptop. But since the Aorus 17 cost $2,500, I think this Razer Blade 17 should be more about, $100 more, say $2,600, by nature of it having advanced Optimus. And would you pay $2,700 for the 3060 model when you can buy last year's 3070 with the 11800H for the same price? Let me know in the comments below what you think. Now next up will be the new Alienware X17R2, so make sure you're subscribed for that one. I'd like to thank you for watching. Bye now.